Welcome back, everybody, to the Warcamp broadcast. I'm Serj, joined as always by my close friend Shep, and today we're diving headfirst into one of the most controversial topics in Warhammer Online Return of Reckoning. Is PvE helping the game survive, or is it ruining PvP and RVR?
Really excited for this topic. Today we're joined by Tosh, a longtime solo roaming slayer. You all have heard of him. He's on Twitch. He spent countless hours fighting outnumbered, chasing small-scale fights, and experiencing the game from a very different perspective than the average warband player.
Absolutely, and we call him Tosh for short. You guys know him as ToShutKidUp. We're going to get into that in a second, but we're talking about solo roaming, gear progression, PvE grinding, dungeon gear, the state of RVR, and whether Return of Reckoning has slowly drifted away from what made it special in the first place.
This one's going to make some people mad. I'm sure of it. We've already gotten
Good.
some mad comments on the other, but that means it's going to be a good episode. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
Let's get right into it. For people who might not know you, Tosh, what's your play style in Return of Reckoning, and where can we find you?
And thank you for having me. My preferred play style. Thank you. My preferred play style since 2018 has been either solo or mostly solo, maybe a little bit of duo or even trio work here and there. Now, prior to 2018, I was a warband player. I joined Cantankerous, or as known as CNTK, and I was a member of their warband guild and officer status there for about 2 years, and then that's when I went and left and formed my own guild and went solo.
All right. So what made you switch to the roaming instead of sticking to the warband lifestyle?
For me, warband lifestyle got, I don't want to say stale, but it didn't feel like the emotional impact for me when it came to like fights and, winning and losing. It kind of at times felt more about, okay, we either got outnumbered and we lost, or we won because we outnumbered them. And now that's not to say that's always the case. Not all fights are that way. I'm not saying that. Sometimes there's some really good warband fighting, and there still is to this day. But for me, I never felt the emotional side of winning or losing in a warband as much as I do as a solo player. As a solo player, I truly feel like every fight is either going to be tooth and nail, or I'm dying fast or he's dying fast. One of the two.
Yeah, and you're doing it on a Slayer too.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I do it on a Slayer. I mean, and there's reasons why I do that, but I just find it a lot more emotionally impactful of when the fights happen. They feel a lot more meaningful to me versus, again, playing in a warband and being like AoE, and okay, they're dead and we're alive, or whatever. I'm very much simplifying that, but that's how I feel when I play in warband style.
Agree.
Man, that hits home for me. I'm gonna do something that no one's gonna like. I'm gonna talk about Dark Souls for a second. That's what pulled me into games like Dark Souls or Arena and WoW. When you're soloing, it just feels more like you did something rather than you have an impact, and if you lose, you made a mistake, and you could learn from that mistake and get better. And when you finally win, it's just a great feeling.
I mean, yeah, and it's also kind of like I don't know what I'm going to be fighting around a corner. At any moment, I could be face to face with one person or 50. I have no idea.
It's exciting.
And yeah, and I don't know, and I don't know who I'm going to be fighting. It could be
play right now.
It could be a witch elf, or it could be a shaman. It could be a
could be Shepasaurus.
Yeah, it could
or
be
not Shepasaurus.
Yeah, it could be Shepasaurus stream sniping me. It could be,
called out.
Whatever, whatever it is, and I'm joking. But
he streams.
I mean, I feel like it's a lot more invigorating to solo roam because, again, not that it makes a big difference on the battlefield as the whole. You know, I'm not changing who wins or loses in Prague as an example by myself. I'm not. You know, I might be able to, help rank up a keep by throwing in 10 boxes or something, but I'm ultimately not changing the battlefield outcome. Okay.
Right.
So I have to be very much aware of that. I can't be, I think a lot of, and I'm kind of drifting here, so I apologize.
You're
But I
good.
think a lot of solo players feel like what they're doing is worth more than what it really is. And they feel like they're actually changing the battlefield outcome by themselves. And the truth of that is that you have an impact. Sure, it's not zero, it's not nil, but it's also not 20%. Okay,
Right.
you're probably in the single digits of impact overall.
Hey,
You're
no one's
probably,
paying your sub. You can play how you want.
yeah. I mean,
Even
you
you're
play,
paying your sub.
play how you want. Make sure you're having fun. Again,
Agreed.
I view this as a game. This is the game. This is not. I don't want to play
No.
this and feel like I'm at work or doing a job or being yelled at by a boss or whatever. I want to have fun. I want my time to feel like I'm having fun. Again, solo roaming affords me to play the game how I want to play, do what I want to do, and do it how I want to do it.
That's a good answer.
I'm not bound by anything for the most part. It doesn't mean I want to be a jerk to other players. I try to be communicative. I try to give information about movements. I try to do a lot of those things to help out other people. At least I feel I'm helping out. Others might disagree, and that's fine. But again, solo play for me is just a lot more personally impactful, and I just enjoy it a lot more.
And that's the
So
point.
you said something earlier that you had specific reasons for picking Slayer. What are those reasons? What keeps pulling you back to that class?
I was told to play Slayer. No,
Oh, whoa.
yeah,
You're not my real dad.
yeah. No,
Who told you?
it's honest truth. This is an honest story. I never played Slayer up to this point ever, and when I was with Cantankerous, my very first player I ever rolled on this server was an engineer. Okay, and I got my engineer up to run on rank 80. He was my first 80, but then I was told by a Cantankerous, "Hey, look, we like you in the guild, but you don't really play engineer all that well, and we already have a
Oof.
better engineer." Hey, I like truth. Like
Maybe.
I'm a person that says, "Give it to me straight. Don't sugarcoat it. Tell me how it is." So, and that's how I run my streams as well. But anyway, so I appreciated that, and I said, "Well, I don't want to leave the guild. I like you guys. What can I do?" And they said, "Hey, we need a Slayer. We don't have a Slayer in our warband. Can you roll and level and play a Slayer?" I said, "Guys, I'll give it a shot." And day one, minute one, when I played that Slayer, I was like, "This is me."
That's
Awesome.
Like
Perfect.
I had so much fun as soon as I played him, and I got my first kill in tier 1 on him, and it was like
Sold.
face to face. Like, it wasn't like, one thing I don't like range is, like, I feel like you're disengaged from the killing. You're too far removed. I like my enemies to be in my face.
same.
So when I was like, "Oh, this is much better than playing engineer," and I was hooked.
Absolutely.
I was hooked.
Those that watch me, I've been complaining a lot about Squig Herder, but we'll get into that later. I definitely like the melee playstyle. I'm with you on that, sir. Absolutely.
It's a lot more dangerous, but it's a lot more. Again, it's a lot more
I
invigorating.
don't mind the danger. I don't mind the dying. I don't mind.
Dangerous Serge's middle name.
No, my middle
Well,
name is
I
Little
mean-
Shep.
I mean, everyone says we don't mind dying, but everyone will also admit if you die 10 times in a row in about a minute and a
it's-
half time frame,
Yeah, it's disheartening.
you're aggravated of dying.
If I'm getting killed by the same person over and over
Yeah.
again, like they're spawn
Yeah.
camping, then it's more aggravating. But
Or it's really aggravating when you go into a fight and you turn around, you're the only melee, and you've got 30 engineers behind you, and you're
see,
like,
we don't
oh
have
my
that
god,
problem on Destro.
oh, oh
We're
my
melee
Jesus,
heavy.
yeah, oh Jesus, and that's again off topic. I'm sorry.
No, 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 you're good, man. Let's keep things going with some spicy topics.
Okay,
What is your hottest ROR take that is probably going to make people a little angry?
people don't try to do better.
You know what? I think that's
I
absolutely true.
actually agree with that.
I 100% agree.
I do agree with that.
Can
People are
you
gonna be so mad at
expand?
us. They're turning it off right now. They're turning
No,
off the podcast.
I've here's what I'll say. A lot of people say Ironbreaker and Blackguard are not good tanks. I disagree.
complicated, but they're great.
I think the people are not good tanks
Yes.
that are playing Ironbreaker and Blackguard, and they need to try a different tank.
Shots
They don't have a
fired.
skill for it.
Right. It takes a higher skill level to play those classes. And if you want to learn how to play them better, you need to understand the core mechanics of how tanking works. And if you don't have that down, Blackguard and Ironbreaker is not a good place to start. But
No, I agree.
I would like for you to expand on your hot take. Why do you say this?
Well, I mean, you're basically explaining it very much with the Ironbreaker and the BG, is that those two classes right there require the awareness that is above and beyond the standard either tank style or even melee style. You have to be aware of not just what you're doing, but how you're affecting. On Order side, it's your Oath friend. On Blackguard, I think it's what whatever, I
Dark
forget what it's
Protector.
called. Dark Protector. Thank you. You also have to be aware of what you're affecting them in the form of their buffs. You got to be aware of like what they need, what they have, what they don't have, what's going on in the battlefield. And you also have to be aware of like other tanks, like, you know, make sure you're guarding, make sure you follow them. It's a lot more complicated to play the BG and the Ironbreaker, and it takes a higher skill level to do it well. However, I will tell you, players who do it well, you can tell they do it well.
They're disgusting.
You can really tell those people that do it well, they make, when people say a BG or you know, an Ironbreaker can't shut somebody down or kill somebody, they are wrong.
Shout out to Fallujah.
They can shut down and lock multiple people down and by themselves, and people also get distracted whenever they see a tank in front of them, and they're very easy to get distracted with because, you know, like BGs are big and they're tall, and you know, it's like they're easy to click on. So you see one, all of a sudden you got 5 people on him, and he's just laughing at you. But you know, you played in the right hands, they can be nasty classes, both of them, the Ironbreaker and the BG, but it takes a really high skill level to play them well. If you don't play them well, then I'm sorry to say you're average. And average on a BG or average on an Ironbreaker is below average for a Chosen or a Swordmaster or a BO. You're below them now at that point. You're below them.
I agree, and I don't necessarily think that's necessarily a hot take, but there's going to be a lot of tanks out there that are going to be mad, I'm sure. But there's, I don't know, fight me.
Whoa. Let's switch here. What's something the ROR community gets completely wrong about solo roamers?
You know, honestly, I think a lot of the things that people think about solo roamers partially is probably true on some levels. It's just a matter of extremes. Not all solo roamers are gankers, but every solo roamer has ganked. Is kind of what I mean. You know, so it doesn't mean you're a ganker, but they've all have ganked somebody at some point. Doesn't matter.
Part of the game.
Yeah, it's part of the game. Not every solo roamer is only out there for themselves, but again, there's going to be a lot of them who are. So it's kind of a duopoly of, you know, the conversation probably isn't untrue, but it's also not also fully true, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or correct.
I completely understand. So, kind of like every healer can DPS, but not every DPS is a healer.
Oh, yes, correct. Yeah, you
I'm
know,
oversimplifying what you just said.
either
but-
thumbs are fingers, but fingers are not thumbs, type of
Right.
thing.
No, I agree.
Well, I have 10 thumbs on my hand.
Well, you
Fight
just
me.
have sausage fingers. Did you say bite me or fight me?
Bite me,
Oh, okay.
just for you.
Okay. Do you think large-scale RVR is healthier or worse because of the PvE progression system?
I don't think the PvE progression system has a direct impact on open RVR, like blob fighting. I don't think it really correlates. I don't think there's really something that says, well, because somebody runs bastions and somebody runs crypts and tunnels, that they're gonna necessarily behave differently in a blob style format versus somebody who doesn't. What I think the idea of how it impacts, I think there is an impact of a different sense, but not in a just how it's played right now, which is basically, who's ever gotten more numbers wins.
Right. Okay. So overall, you don't think it has an impact either way
I
on
don't-
large-scale fighting?
No, I do not. I do not, because on large scale fighting, there's so much more that goes involved into, like, a full solve, solo squig herder who's gonna stand in the middle of a warband AoE fight is gonna die maybe a half a second longer than if he was in, Conqueror gear or whatever. If he did the same exact thing, he's dead either way. It's just a matter of milliseconds at that
I feel
point.
attacked.
Yeah, no, but the life expectancy of that player in that environment, in that situation, it doesn't really matter what he does, and it doesn't really matter, how he went about it. I do think what PvE does do when it comes to RVR is, for some players, it really gives them a shock of, how many crests do I really need still? And how many have I earned up to this point? Oh, I've done a lot of dungeons and not a lot of RVR, and I don't have a lot of crests now, and I still need 15, 16,000. I need almost still 18,000 maybe still, and I have 302.
What?
That kind of sucks,
Bro. Never in
You
my
know.
life.
That I think is where it kind of has an impact on the psyche of that person once he realizes that. If he has played in that style, anyway. If he's played it to that
Like if he's
extreme.
gone all PvE.
You mean if they've
Yeah.
gone, yeah,
Inside of PvE.
all PvE
Yeah.
and no PvE?
Yeah, correct. Like if he
Does
did.
anybody
if he
do
did-
that?
Well, you can use Hermit as an example. He's done it recently on his 24-hour stream, where he
Mhm.
went from 0 to 40 in 24 hours, all by PvE and
To be
questing.
fair,
And
To be fair,
he's
Hermit
he's
has
an
been
expert.
playing. He's been playing the
Yes.
game for a long time. He's not a new
Yes.
player.
I
He
understand
knew
that.
exactly what he was doing.
I understand that, but it does show people that you
God.
can do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir,
And I
we got
sh-
to what,
I do the
level
same.
17 or 18 on our hardcore characters, only doing PvE, and
Yeah.
we quit. We quit because it was so damn boring. I was like, I need
Yeah.
to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Well, see,
It could be
I'm doing.
more exciting.
I've been doing a test on my Knight of the Blazing Sun, where I was only going to gear him through PvE exclusively. I was not gearing him through PvP. So he's like 40 now, around rank 60, maybe 55, somewhere on there.
I'm gonna
And
need his name for a friend.
and it's basically just ToShutKidUp, but he's a Knight of the Blazing Sun. It's just a little
Okay.
bit of a spelling difference. But anyway,
Dyslexia.
I think when I hit 40 on him, he was like around rank 17 or 18. I did very little like OpenRVR because I wanted to see what the experience was like for a PvE player, in a sense of like, okay, how bad or how good would OpenRVR be if I was in PvE gear and I was lowering out a rank? So that's what I did. I created my Knight of the Blazing Sun, who still his PvE is not done, and that's only because I only run it with Talf Mandra, because he's the only person on Order I've ever found that will hold my hand and tell me exactly what to do, because I've never done these
Serj
dungeons.
does that.
I've never done these dungeons before, so I'm like the complete noob of like, you want me to stand where? Oh shit, we all died. My fault. Sorry guys. Sorry. Sorry guys. I didn't know. Sorry. You know, I'm that guy.
That sounds like the first boss in Crypts that you had experience with.
You know, I don't remember which boss it is, but there's a boss in I think it's Crypts, where she's like, she goes around this big circle and she puts like these fire bombs on the ground.
Yep. No, that's not the first.
I think I wiped
One with
my
the pink
team
mist?
like 4 times. I think I wiped my team like 4 times because I couldn't figure that out. And I'm like, you want me to do what? Like move but not back up? What? Okay.
Mechanics in PvE are not straightforward.
Yeah, they're very much anti how I play. So
Right.
it's hard for me to like to do it, because I'm like,
But
this
they
is
can
not
be
how I
learned.
would. Yeah, it can be learned. It's just not how I normally would play or maneuver my player. So it's just weird to me.
I understand. I have had a similar conversation with other people about how people that never PvE, like if they're strictly PvP and they come into PvE like never, they're reducing the experience of the strict PvE players. Not because they're bad players, they just don't understand the mechanics.
Yeah. And
So-
I actually feel more overwhelmed if I do a PvE dungeon than I do if I'm in PvP. Because to me,
You just have more experience with it, though.
It feels a lot more foreign to me. So it's like I don't understand what, you know, this bright light is supposed to be telling me that it's on the ground or whatever. Whereas when I'm in OpenRVR, I know exactly what that means when it's over there, and I know what that means when it's over there. My mind just processes it much faster when I'm in OpenRVR. In PvP or in PvE, I feel like I have to like, okay, purple means what now? Oh, okay, purple means this. Okay,
You know,
it's like
it's funny because Shep has said the exact same thing about the PvE mechanics not being explained very well. You have to read
We made these
buffs or
comments.
read comments in chat to
Yeah,
be able to
I-
understand what's happening, and people don't want to
I-
read stuff, they want to react to what's happening. Audio visual cues is
Right.
what you need, not a wall of text that tells you how to do the mechanic.
Yeah,
So-
well, I'm okay. The wall of text. I'm a Dark Age of Camelot guy, so for me, you know, wall of text kind of came with, you know, playing that game. I got used to wall of text. However, for me, I'm more of again, it's just the combat just feels completely wrong in PvE to me. It doesn't feel like, well, why am I not on the side of this enemy where my flanking would do more damage? Why do I got to stand on this rock over here and do it? Doesn't. my mind just is like, this doesn't make sense. I would be popping this ability right now and doing this rotation. Why is this happening? Why can't I AoE? I'm an AoE class. This doesn't make sense.
So can we
Okay, I
expect you to
understand.
play some Camelot Unchained when it comes out in early
Oh
access?
God.
I've been
In December?
testing it. I've been
You have?
testing it. Yeah.
How'd
I've
it
been
feel?
I've been testing it for the past month on the weekends. They allow, you know, I have access to it. In fact, I have access tonight. No, actually not tonight. Tomorrow into Thursday, I have access into
Ooh.
it. How does it feel?
New?
Uh,
Like early access? Does it feel early access?
it feels early access 2004.
Oh,
Nice. Nice.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I do either. Maybe I'll stick with Return of Reckoning for a while.
It. I'll say this: it runs at a stable 100 frames. Okay, it runs at a stable 100 frames at 1440p. Okay, so 2K. But the art style is a little bit kind of a mixture of WoW and Return of Reckoning. It's kind of like, I can't really show you guys right now, but like the character's almost like kind of shaded in a way, almost like kind of animated. I know
Like
what
a cell
animated sounds
shading?
weird. Yeah, like a cell shading, exactly.
But if people
So-
want to see this content, they can look you
They
up
have,
on
they have,
Twitch.
no. I do.
Oh,
I
they
cannot.
have an NDA. Okay.
I have an NDA, so I can't stream it. I can't show it. You can
Okay.
go
Gotcha,
and look.
gotcha.
I can't. You can go to their website and look at their content, but I can't share it.
Okay.
Anyway, but
So
keep
back
going.
to ROR.
Yes.
Here's one. What's one change the devs could make tomorrow that would massively improve PvP?
Make campaigns worthwhile.
Agreed. Nice. I've always wondered
Like how so?
why.
Hey,
There's
explain for a lot of.
you're
There's a lot of
gonna get me
people
on a
who.
rant. You're gonna get me on a
There's
rant
a lot
on
of
this
people
one.
who don't know campaigns. Either didn't play live. They don't
What's the
completely
campaign?
understand it yet. Explain a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Return of Reckoning. I'm not going to really be talking about live.
Okay.
So, Return of Reckoning, I started on a server August of 2016, for point of reference. So I've been on a server for just about 10 years now. 10 years, okay? So I'm not the oldest person on the server by far. There are certainly people who've been here longer than me, by years, okay? But I'm also one of the oldest people on the server currently. I would say that's active day to day, at least, okay? Probably top 10 or 15 people, I would say. I would guess. But anyway, it used to be that once forts were added, okay, city was populated and done by players winning a certain amount of forts. And that's also when Sovereign gear was released. And the only way to really obtain the best gear on the game was going through cities. So it made cities a process of, if you want the gear, if you want to win, I mean, if you want to get it, you want to win. So you got to try. Okay? You don't want to lose a city. Okay? Because you might not get that gold bag. You're not going to get the higher contribution to possibly win either the currency or at first outright gear straight out. Like on day one, you could win a sovereign chess piece by doing the city stage 2. You'd get your gold bag and boom, sovereign chess piece. Like that. So people were fighting.
Like
yeah, I mean, there was people on day one, because of getting lucky, that they were basically full bis after doing 1 or 2 cities.
There was no wards at that point?
Not really. I mean, the ward system was different, okay? Because back then, basically the whole currency was different. Okay, we didn't have the unified currency. Okay, you had a different currency system. You had medallions, and you were like OpenWorldPvP, and you had scenario currency, which were like emblems. You couldn't cross them. You couldn't trade them. You couldn't convert them. So you had different gear sets that you would obtain by doing different styles of gameplay. So if you wanted, if you wanted to run a DPS AM or whatever, you would have to grind out scenarios, because that's where your DPS gear was at. The OpenWorldPvP gear was your healing gear, as an example. So they had things segmented like that, and then to win your sovereign gear, unless if you wanted to save thousands of royal crests, which in a gold bag you might get 2 or 3 in a gold bag, which is what I did because I didn't do cities. You would do cities and you would earn more royal crests, or you would win the outright item itself. So people would violently win or play to win, to try to get city to pop. And they would also care a lot more of what the ranking of the city was. Okay, they wouldn't want to farm, let's say, a 1-star Altdorf, because the prizes weren't as big. So people would kind of let the stars build up a little bit, and then the server would go to town and things like that. So the
There was
fighting
a
felt
reason for the campaign
yeah,
push
there
to
yeah,
go
there
to
was
the city.
there was exactly there was a big reason. People didn't want to lose. There was no I'm gonna throw a zone per se. It did happen a little bit. I'm not gonna say it didn't, but people didn't throw forts.
Oh,
Definitely did not throw a fort. A fort was special. Okay,
things
so
get thrown all the time now.
yeah, so there was no fort. There was no let's jump up to 4th floor and see if we can get 10 kills instead of holding Lord Room or whatever. Again, different rant. But so people, at least in my opinion, they cared more about winning and trying and actually, progressing the campaign. That has changed a lot,
Yeah,
like
I would
dramatically.
say. So it
Wow, so
sounds
this
like
feels like a way more. Sorry, Serge. This feels like a way more casual version of what it used to be. Go ahead,
I
Serge.
was
I didn't
gonna
mean to cut you
say,
off.
no, you're good. I was gonna say that it sounds like they homogenized the entire game down into a single currency and allow people to get access to all of the gear through that single currency and the new ward system. And by doing so, that turns scenarios into a niche market for people
Yes,
that just like small scale,
And
and
same with
city is basically not played. There are
correct. Because
some
it's not special.
instances where one side or the other, for whatever reason, because of time zones or whatever, city just does not happen because
Mhm.
nobody's queuing for it. So city is not anything other than just a small scenario that people do every once in a while if they want to for some extra renown and a different PvP experience, but
Yeah.
it's not needed at all. So a lot of people don't even do it.
No, no. Yeah, years ago, pre 2020. Again, that's basically like when the whole conversion happened around 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it was 2021 or 2022. But anyway, maybe 2022. But anyway, i- people's play styles were a lot different. People's minds, because again, you played with a purpose. Because if you were gonna go do a scenario, you were doing it because you needed to win to get the medallions or the emblems to get your gear. So there was not a lot of I died once, I'm going to quit and stand up here and let the time run out. Because you were wasting your own time, because now you're like, now I got to wait till I could do a surrender, or I got to wait until everybody else quits, or I got to wait 15 minutes. You were not doing that as much. Again, not saying it didn't happen, but people were trying to win a lot more because the currency, the system forced you to win if you wanted to gear quickly, because you didn't want to sit there and be like, man, it's going to take me 8 months to grind because I'm only winning 1 out of 20 scenarios. I'm only getting 1 emblem per scenario and I need 2,000 emblems. This is going to take me forever. So people cared.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more grindy.
It
Um,
was.
so
Honestly, that sounds a lot more fun to me. I
Well-
wish there was a huge reason to go into scenario and city
Well,
fights. I don't
right.
do it.
right
don't do it.
now, right now, the game, there's no penalty for dying. There's no penalty for losing a zone.
Right.
There's no penalty for throwing a fort. There's no penalties in the game. And while that appeals to the more casual player and it allows for progression on a large scale for more people, it does take away the feeling of that real hardcore vanilla experience of the progression system that the game originally had. So I would like to go a little off topic, or not really off topic, but throw something at you, Tosh. Why do you think it is that the game has gone in that direction? Why did they homogenize everything and take away the penalties?
Because it's the times. People, I'm 48. Okay, so just to put that out, I'm not old, but I'm older.
No, we're
than
all
probably,
old.
Yeah, okay. So I'm 48. Um,
We're dinosaurs.
so
You're not
how
even
people
40.
are now, how people are finding this game right now brand new. Okay, let's say you're 26, and you're just now finding Warhammer because Serj X stream, and you're like, holy shit, what is this game? Sorry, can I swear?
Yes.
Okay. I
You're
apologize.
fine.
This is a Christian Minecraft server, sir.
You know, you're 26 and you're like, oh my God, what is this? What is this game? Serj explained it. Seems really cool. And then you get into it and you're like, wait, I have to do what to go where and talk to who and wait, the current game I play right now, it teleports me there. You're telling me I gotta like fly someplace and run someplace and talk to and click on this and find a pie that's in a library. What
Play the game to play the game.
Yeah, what game is this? And that's just not how I think a lot of younger players are currently playing modern games. Okay, and I think this game is showing its age in the sense of this was in the era of grindy games. Okay, again, like Dark Age of Camelot was a lot more grindier than Warhammer. Okay, just as EQ was a lot more grindier than Dark Age of Camelot. Okay, so this game is not as grindy as Dark Age, but it's also not as grindy as there's other games that have come out a lot easier after this. And I think a lot of new people who are finding this game are like, this is too grindy. It's too difficult. It takes me too long to get where I want to get. All the other games I play, I'm getting there in X amount of days or hours or whatever. You want me to take how much time to do that?
Yeah.
I don't got time. I don't got time for that.
The theme park MMO kind of ruined these old school MMO.
So I think because of that, and because of the, and this is just a hard reality of, there's always going to be like, well, what about the new player? Okay, so like, if you were a new player last year, the conversation was like, well, how are we going to help a new player? Well, then a year later, it's okay, well, how about we're going to help the new player? Okay, well, how are we going to help the new player, catch up? Because they always got to try to, like, everyone feels like they got to catch up now. Like, I don't want to spend a week or a month or 6 months catching up. I want to be caught up to you today. How do I do that?
Instant gratification.
How do I get there? And one of the big issues I see when I stream is people ask, how do I get there fast? And
Yeah.
I'm saying get in there fast does not mean get in there the best way of doing it. Okay? Get in there fast does not mean what you want to do. So
That's a good point.
I don't this game to me is not a game where you want to say, I want to go from 0 to 40 in 3 days. I can guarantee well, I mean, people can do it. I'm sure people can do it, but the burnout period on this server is fast and hard for a lot of people.
It is.
It hits them fast and hard. Like a lot of new people after 6 months, they are gone way before 6 months.
I was gonna say a lot of new people are gone before a month.
Yeah, but I mean, my 6 month is usually what I try to track numbers and stuff. But by 6, yeah, they're long gone.
And it's why do you think it is? Why do you think the new player experience is not what it should be?
Again, it's selling PvP is I think it's hard to sell PvP. Okay, again, old school PvP. Okay, this is not Fortnite PvP. Okay, you're not running around in bunny hats and fryer pan rear ends, and you're not building castles and driving Barbie cars or whatever.
I played that game with my daughter once, and someone built a house around me and then blew me up. I'm like, what just happened? I can't get out. Yeah. I hated it. I stopped playing.
People would do that in Dune on Dune PvP. Is they would build like a house, and they would keep the door open and unlocked, and they waited for you to walk in. Then they would lock you in, and they would starve you out and kill you. But anyway, that's a different thing. But yeah, again, it's just an old school PvP MMO is a hard sell today. It just is. It's a hard sell. A lot of games, the PvE is done better in other places. It feels a lot more rewarding. I'm going to guess in other games, it feels more rewarding. It probably feels more fulfilling in other games on the long run. On the long run, and the PvP can get quite, especially right now because of the campaign system of, well, what's the point? Like, what am I really doing? Like, what are we, like, weren't we just doing this 30 minutes ago and we're gonna do it again?
Why
Like,
are we in Prague again?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
roads lead to Prague.
yeah, like exactly. It's
Square.
like, again, that's a different conversation. But again, since there's no real purpose, it's hard to keep a new player who says, okay, what do I do? Okay, I go to high pass. What are we doing? Oh, okay. Well, what am I supposed to be doing? Just follow you around. Okay. And what are we doing exactly?
Chopping, more chopping.
Yeah, we're chopping. Okay, but we just chopped them. Are we gonna do something else? No, we're just still
No,
chopping.
we're gonna chop them again.
We're gonna
or
chop
get
again.
chopped.
Got it. Okay, we're gonna. Well, how many chops are we gonna do? Oh, we're gonna be here for a lot of chops. I don't know if I can do a lot of chops. I might be done, guys.
Well, that's
know?
that's a good reason, I think, why you solo play, because you can actually mix it up yourself.
Right.
Again, I create my own content. I'm not bound by the rules of what
the band.
of what warbands do. You know, when Prague is opened, I don't feel this magnetic pull of the earth and the sun to go to Martyr Square. For whatever reason, I don't feel that magnetic pull. I feel like, hey, you know what? The road outside of the back of Prague wraps around and goes to Graveyard. That feels to me like a much better way of moving and going undetected and doing what I want to do versus running for 10 seconds to go stand in Prague and wave at people. Cool.
Warcamp fights are boring. I agree.
That's what I do. I solo play allows me to play how I want to play and create my own content. If I feel bored, I don't have to ask the warband leader, hey, can we go do something else? And he's going to say, no, we're going to stay right here. Cool. You know, what are you going to do at that point? You're either going to say, well, either I'm going to log off, or you're going to keep doing it and be bored because you're told to do that. I'm not bound by that. If I am bored in a zone, I say, hey, where is Destro at and where do I have AAO? I'm going to go there and see what Destro's doing in Thunder Mountain, or see what Destro's doing in Blackfire Pass or whatever. I'm going to go see what they're doing there and make my own content.
That's good.
Yeah, I just prefer it. I just prefer it.
So, moving to the main discussion of this is PvE ruining PvP. You've said before that PvE is hurting PvP in Return of Reckoning. What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't think it's hurting. Okay, I don't think it's hurting PvP per se. I think it can give a player a false sense of security, and then they have a wide realization of how much work they still have to do to get to what most people consider full BIS. Okay, however, this is where I do think there is an issue with PvE and PvP. Okay, the reasoning that I'm aware of why you can do what you can do in PvE right now, and what I mean by that is basically going through the dungeon system and getting and working all the way up to Bloodlord, or is that Dark Promise? Is that what it's called?
Dark Promise
now,
is
yeah.
the in-game PvE.
Okay.
It's
so
equivalent
Dark Promise.
to why can't I think of it? Warlord.
Victorious.
Okay.
Victorious. Triumph.
Pre-Sov.
Okay. So anyway, so like Victorious, or
Triumphant.
some in that ballpark. Okay. So it was created originally for basically a catch-up mechanic to allow new players to play against Sov players, because for the longest time the brand new player said, I have no chance against a Sov player, because it takes, they still don't. No. Well, kind of. There's things that go involved in that.
It closes the gap, but
yes, it closes the gap quite a bit. And when you're talking about solo play, I've been beaten by people who are way below their gear level compared to me, and just whipped my butt with skill and understanding. But anyway, it allows a catch-up mechanic to at least get into the ballpark of competing against soft players. Okay, that I understand, and I agree to it from that aspect. However, what it does hurt is the brand new player who joins the server to just wanting to PvP. That player, if he was to play with his best friend who said, I want to play the game the same class as you, the same side as you, and I want to play with you, same time frame, but I'm going to do it through PvE and you do it only through PvP. That brand new PvP only player with the same time played as his PvE friend is going to feel very much left behind. Up until he gets into Bisque gear at Sovereign. Then at that point, he's going to feel even. But it's going to take him a lot longer, potentially, to do all the grinding of going through the ward system, buying all of the gear through Crest, buying his weapons that he has to buy with his Crest as well, because he can't do Bloodlord. He's got to go through the Subjugator route. He's got to go through the Fortress route. He's got to spend 1,800 crests on weapons as well and stop at Fortress. He is going to feel, with the same time spent, left behind and disenfranchised compared to his PvE only brand new friend for a while. They will catch up, but it's going to take him a lot longer to catch up. But he will catch up.
I think you just answered the next question I wanted to ask you. Are PvP focused players at a disadvantage if they refuse to grind PvE?
Well,
And
so
it, you know,
I was going to say, this feels like a very specific scenario. So I was going to question, like, how often does that happen in your experience as a
fair amount,
as a person that's been active in the community 10 plus or 10 years? You're a very constant streamer, like you're in the community. How often do people talk about coming into the game as a new player with their friend and getting and feeling like they get left behind by their PvE friend? Like
not that environment, not that scenario. No, not that scenario. That scenario I have made up myself as a comparison of time frame. Okay, but I've not had a player come to me and say, hey, my friend Bob plays this game alongside of me and he's already X, Y, and Z and I feel left behind. No, that does not. What I will say is people come to my stream and they're like, oh, this game looks really cool. I'm a brand new player. How soon can I PvP? When can I PvP? And I'm like, you can PvP at level 1. You can start at level 1. And their answer is awesome. Then I tell them, however, what you're going to want to do is, as your PvP, and do dungeons to save your crests, so that way you don't buy your armor and waste your crests. So that way by the time you're 40 or on rank 78, you have enough crests to buy your endgame gear. Otherwise, you're grinding for more crests. So you're going to want to go ahead and do your dungeons to save on the crests and doing content you might not like. And they're like, that sounds sucks. I don't want to do dungeons. I only want to play in PvP.
But you don't have to. It's an option.
No. You don't have to, but the large majority of people feel like they are doing it because the end justifies the means. It's a lot faster, it's a lot easier, but they don't enjoy it.
They want to be a lot more efficient with their time.
Yes.
Especially as we're getting older, we don't have that amount of time anymore.
Yeah.
Yes. So they do it because they feel like they have to, not because they want to. I've always said on this server for years and years that if you could buy PvE gear with your PvE currency, I don't think anyone would do a dungeon, except for the hardcore people who like PvE. If you were able to buy Bloodlord with your crests or whatever, or Sentinel gear with your crests or PvP currency, I think the PvE world on this server would be cut in minimum half overnight.
And I think you have a really good point there about how PvE gear is way easier to get, way faster to get. Even in other games, it's much more balanced.
Mhm.
Where, let's look at Final Fantasy 14. Your first 2 weeks, you don't buy a new piece of gear because you have to do a daily dungeon. You have to do maybe 20 dungeons and get an amount of crests to buy your first piece of gear, right? That's much more equivalent to how long someone would have to spend if they wanted to just do it through RVR and gain those crests.
Yeah.
There is an imbalance there that allows someone who, even if they hate PvE, but if they just, bite the shoe and just do it for do PvE for 4 hours, 4 days in a row,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they've skipped 3-4 weeks of grinding.
Exactly. Exactly. They're like, okay, I'm gonna do 4 hours of something I hate instead of grinding for 4 weeks, and that makes sense until you meet a player like me.
What?
But that also adds to some burnout, right? Because they're
It
like,
does.
oh, I
I
wanna
have to
level
do
this
something I
character.
don't want to do.
I have to do
Yeah.
something I don't want to do to be competitive, and that's how a lot of people feel.
I
Mhm.
agree that the road through PvE versus PvP should be equivalent. So either you could make the PvP grind shorter or make the PvE grind longer, or do both. I don't care, but I do 100% agree that the equivalent, if it takes a month to get to the item level 65 range gear, which is Warlord, Triumphant, Victorious gear, if it takes a month to get there, then it should take a month to get to Lost Veil, Dark Promise gear.
I was doing the math with Hermit maybe a month ago about this, and because he was the only person I knew of really that was doing PvE before I knew that Serj was doing PvE like every other day that he's streaming, or he was for a while. Um, I asked him. I said, "How many hours does it really take to get from 0 to pre-bis doing dungeons?" And he gave me a time frame of around, it takes about a total of 18 hours. Okay, so 18 hours of full game time. It's basically, on the days that you can't do the dungeon, you're not playing. You log in when your lockout timer is available. You do the dungeon, then you log out or whatever. That style of player, 18 hours, and you'd be from 0 to done.
No,
I'm
I would disagree with that.
Well, I'm
Okay.
going to say something that's going to blow your mind. And I am probably not the best example of this because of my experiences and what I do, right? I got a fresh level 40
Mhm.
all the way to full Dark Promise gear in 4 days after hitting
Okay.
40
Okay.
in less than 12 hours played.
Okay, so 12 hours for you.
So, but that is with a tank. Tanks are
Yeah.
a lot easier. Their gearing path is a lot more straightforward. And it was because I have a broad outreach. I'm part of a large guild. I'm part of a PvE community where, they come together and help each other for these things. So I have things that are going for me. So tanking and then access to players that know all of the mechanics.
12
So
hours, get out.
It can be done. I did it on a dark is it called a black guard in in 4 days played at
Okay.
40. So it is
Okay.
possible. Most people don't do it that quickly, but the
Understood.
minimum I'm gonna say is probably around 12 hours.
Yeah,
And
I think the average experience
gross.
is going to be a lot longer. You're going to
I
have your 3
I
hour
agree.
LVs.
I 100% agree. Most people
Sure.
are not going to do it that quickly. But the quickest you can get to Warlord and Triumph is not 12 hours.
No.
What is the quickest you could get to full Warlord, Triumph, Victorious?
Question.
Well, the old.
If you no life the game, it's not 12
Well,
hours.
You would. I guess you could theoretically. This is a big theory, huge theory right here. But theoretically speaking, I guess if a really strong guild, really strong 6-man on a good on a good double Wednesday or double Saturday event or whatever, and you're popping renown pots and they're passing crests, they could probably get you all nearly 20,000 crests by doing that in a weekend. If they
That's
fed
comparable
you,
then.
if they fed you that way, if you had
Serj
So it
had a
could be
group
done.
that fed him these dungeon runs, right? They smashed through these dungeon runs in 12 hours. My God, it wasn't pugs, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the same idea.
I mean, because for example, like this last, no, again, but that is a play style of very few that are capable of doing something like that,
Right.
because it requires a guild that has the competency to basically go undefeated in a zone.
And get the kills.
But
and,
we don't.
And yes, they
we don't balance.
they have to get the kills to do it. They have to be effective with it. So these are the people that are they're going like 502 in zones.
I need
Those
to
type
become friends
those-
with alls before I switch over to order.
Oh, no.
those types of people are the ones that are able to do that. The average warband player, they're not coming anywhere near that. Okay, they're not.
Well, the
but the
average
one-
PvE player's not gearing in Dark Promise in 12 hours either.
No, they're not either. But
It's
I
going
would
to
say
take a
the
couple weeks.
yeah, and I would say the average player doing a PvE is going to take a couple months. Okay, minimum.
I would
for
agree
the average
with that.
for the average PvP player is a couple months minimum. But you technically could
we should
do
be
it.
looking at the average player. We should.
Yeah,
Right,
correct.
and I was going to
You-
say we
yeah.
we can't balance the game based on
No,
the top
No,
1%.
on the extremes on both ends. You don't want to balance it on the guy who takes 6 years to hit level 40, and you don't want to balance it on the
Whoa,
guy
I
that
feel
hits rank
attacked.
80. And I was actually talking more about Max, but
Oh,
Confirmed. Serj thinks he's in the top 1%.
yeah,
said
now
it here.
Serj thinks
I
he's
heard
the
it here.
top
okay.
1%.
Okay.
The ego on him.
Out of context,
Jesus Christ.
bro.
but,
I can't take you anywhere.
But
Shouldn't.
no, so yeah, you definitely want to throw out the extremes, but I would still say the averages for the average player, if you're talking about those two things, is much faster for the average PvE player. If he wants to play and gear up, that mechanic is going to be faster and easy for him. So to kind of answer your question, if there is a player out there who wants to play that way, they are going to feel disenfranchised and a little upset once they realize that and figure that out.
Well, I think you answered like our next few questions. So Shep, you want to ask the next one?
Yeah. Do you think that PvE rewards undermine player skill in small scale player versus player?
Again,
So
that's a hard.
let me rephrase that, because that might be misconstrued. Do you feel like a newer player that comes in, let's say he gets pulled through by some friends, Ruby and Gempire boys get together, smash him to Dark Promise gear, they get into small scale PvP, are they going to start undermining players? Someone who's more skilled, has been playing longer, but is in less gear because it took them longer to gain it in PvP.
He's not going to have the experience of how the PvP battlefield flows. He's not going to understand, like, the person who is grinding it through PvP, he's going to be feeling left behind in gear, but he's going to be ahead in knowledge.
Right.
He's going to be ahead of understanding what the mechanics of the battlefield mean and how to navigate those. Whereas somebody who does just go all the way to Dark Promise and says, okay, let's hit it, I'm ready to PvP, he's not going to have a clue of when the first witch elf or witch hunter pops on him, what in the heck he's got to do. Like, he's going to be like, whoa, what just happened? Like,
Exactly.
whoa.
Yep.
He's gonna be like, whoa. What? Wait, I didn't even move and I'm dead. What happened? I don't. What happened?
I have something that I say a lot. Positioning is greater than, if your positioning is on point, your gearing doesn't necessarily matter to a point, but if you know how to position and you know how, like, you have the skill for the content you're doing, your gear it doesn't matter as much.
No,
So-
I agree. I 100% agree there. Like I said, I've been beaten by people, as a run on rank 80 player by sub 30s back in the day when bolster was done a little bit differently, or I was being beaten by like level 26 witch elves. Okay, because of how the bolster system worked back then.
Yeah.
People were basically like level, 50, when they were like 22, for HP wise. But anyway, the
Being
knowledge
beaten by level 22 witch hunters now.
Yeah.
yeah. No, they when bolster was first released, it was like really nasty about how strong lobies were. It was like you felt like you were fighting a hero mob. It was like, oh my god. But anyway, the advantage that what the PvP player will have is going to be the knowledge of the battlefield and how the mechanics works. How to, if the PvE player has no understanding of how to play PvP mechanics, at that point it doesn't matter what gear he has, he's dead. But once he figures that out, he can do really well.
So we've talked a lot about the progression system. I think this next question is kind of leading into what we've already talked about. I really want to know this after this discussion. Would you redesign progression? And it sounds like you would. What would you change?
Well, I would actually kind of go back to how the system was. Again, I would make the campaign feel meaningful, and I would put certain carrots behind. I don't like putting things behind walls because, again, I think you're limiting player choice. But if you give players too much choice, they'll choose to do nothing. And I kind of feel like that's where we're at right now, that they're choosing to do nothing instead of doing something. And if they're kind of forced to do something, I think it's a better alternative, personally. So I would kind of revamp the system. I would put almost like a full contribution system in the game, if possible. Again, I'm talking theories here. I'm not saying that they could realistically do this with the team, but I would almost have a contribution system put in where a PvE player is putting some sort of contribution points towards the overall campaign. That way they feel like they're contributing to what the PvP players are trying to do, which is potentially push a city and then help everyone else out. And what I would also do is, kind of going off of Dark Age of Camelot days, is I would give a small bonus, a small bump of something like maybe gold increase per earnings of mobs or whatever of 5%, maybe extra, something 5% renown bonus or whatever. Whoever wins city overall for the next 3 days gets a 5% side bonus. Something like that.
I like that a lot.
And then you have something that feels small. It doesn't feel overpowering. Like, well, winners are going to stay winners and losers are going to stay losers. But something where it's like, okay, guys, I want my bonus this week. Can we try?
Yeah.
Can we put an
Awesome.
effort?
Awesome idea.
I love
And
it.
so that's what I would like to have see done. Something along those lines.
We've
that's
been going for a while now. These conversations have been great. We're going way past the time we wanted to, but I still have a few more questions here.
Go for it.
What keeps you logging into Return of Reckoning despite your frustrations with the game?
Streaming. I have a lot of fun with my community. I mean, I honestly do. The people that come into my stream have been in my stream for 10 years. I feel like a
I
lot of these
massively
people.
enjoy watching it as well.
I feel
5
like
years too.
yeah, I feel like I've known these people. Like I've known Techno since Techno was 15 or no, when he was almost like I know of him when he was like 10 years old. Okay. I've known
Whoa.
of him when he was like 10. He's now like 20 years old. So I feel like in my gaming life, I've seen this kid grow. Okay.
Awesome.
I feel that way with a lot of my viewers. It's like, man, you guys have watched me and supported me for 10 years. Like, why do you guys keep watching me? Is the question. Like, that's my amazement to it. So
That
because
smile.
of
That damn smile.
no,
Yeah, it's the
but
beard.
I think it's the attitude. But anyway, I think it's the rant. It's the rant is what I mean. I go on these deep, dark conversations and start yelling and screaming. But
It's the passion. It's
yeah,
not anything else. It's the passion.
it's
People love passion.
It's the passion. It's the breaking of keyboards. It's the getting drunk on streams. It's you know it's you know.
broken keyboards? Oh.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I
I
need to
broke
see
my
some clips.
I broke my Logitech G910 keys, smashed them all off. I've showed it on stream. Yeah. No. But the stream is what keeps me coming back because I have really good debates with people who have opposing views to mine about what they view the game would be like. You know, people like Bombling, people like Halsite, you know, people come in, they challenge me on ideas. People like Van Buren. And there's a lot of people who come in and we talk about the game. We talk about, you know, what they like, what they don't like, you know, what we agree on, what we disagree on. And it doesn't feel like the game itself feels kind of like at times like the chat can come across as very toxic nature. Like, why are you asking this question again? Why are you a dumb arse? You know, get out of advice chat, that type of thing. You know, people get kind of nasty a little bit. But in my stream, the community seems to get along reasonably well. You know, people watch me, they're industrial players, there's order players, we're joking back and forth. You know, people again like Shep come into my stream and he's like, hey, I'm gonna come kill you. And I'm like, hey, bring it on, you know? And then he's like, I'm gonna come
proceed to get wrecked.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna come do it. I'm like, let's go. And it's like, you know, not that I do set up duels a lot, but when you have a community that is, you know, very friendly and makes the game feel a lot better than what it maybe might be feeling like as a player, it goes a long way with me. It really does.
I agree. Shep tried to get me to quit ROR for ESO, and I came back.
I've a really hard time playing another game and streaming something else and being like, man, if I was streaming ROR, I'd be talking to Truster right now. You know, or I'd be talking to Silver right now, or I'd be talking to Toth Monera right now, or I'd be talking to Serj right now, or whatever. But, you know, they're playing Warhammer and I'm playing this game, and I feel almost like left out in a sense.
So it's not the streaming, it's the community.
Yeah, that's the biggest point we had, Serj, on our podcast where we talked about what makes this the best MMO. And I've gone to ESO, played other games, I keep coming back. It's community, man. People made comments saying, oh, it's because it's free, or because it's this or that. No, it's community. It's got such a fantastic, tight-knit community.
I will tell you, one of the best things about this game is that people, and I know we're going over, so I apologize, but I do want to make this point. People talk about, you know, this game is dying because the population is only X number. Tell you what, I've been on a server when the population was 3 times what it is right now. It is much better where it is right now. Okay, for one thing. 2 is that if you play this game for more than a few months, you start to remember names and people. And then you start to kind of build these almost like friendly rivalries with people. Like, you know, especially if you're streaming. You know, if I'm streaming, I might kill somebody and they'll pop on my stream and they're like, you just killed me, I'm gonna come after you. And I'm like, awesome, let's go. You know, again, you know, let's keep it up. Let's keep the fun going. And it's not malicious. It's not at all. It's kind of like, you got me, I'm gonna get you. Well, perfect. Well, you got me now. I'm gonna get you back the next time I can get you. And you start to remember, like, Wyberny comes into my stream a lot. Again, there's some old school Destro players. Anya comes into my stream every once in a while.
Oh,
I'll
no.
kill her. She'll kill me or I'll kill her. She'll blow me a kiss. She'll come into my stream and she'll like, I'm sorry, I love you. And I'm like, hey, it's the game. This is Warhammer, not Hughammer. I love you too. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna get out of your stream. I'm like, awesome, you have a great day. I'll see you on the battlefield.
Absolutely.
That type of thing is awesome, and that's why I just can't stop.
Yeah, 100% agree. Stream snipe me all day. I don't care. It's fun.
Yeah.
I enjoy the community.
Again,
It's great.
I love running boxes. It puts a big blue light on me and it brings action to me. I don't
Everybody
know
find you.
Yeah,
I say it all the
people
time.
find me.
Fastest way to find and order player is to pick up a box.
Yeah. That's 100%. If you're running through a zone, you're like, where is everyone? Go pick up a box. They're gonna find you.
They'll find you. Hey man, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us. We didn't get through all of the questions. Maybe we can have you on in the future. But
Definitely.
if people want to find you, where can they find you to watch your gameplay?
Well, I stream daily, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So basically 9 hours a day, 5 days a week. You can find me on Twitch. So it's basically twitch.com/ToShutKidUp. And that's where you can find me. I do have a YouTube channel, but I don't post videos on there often. So don't expect a ton of content on there on a regular basis. But Twitch, definitely.
Okay, and we will
You'll be able
post...
to find the link in our description.
That's what I was
if
going to
you're
say.
looking for.
Thank you, Shep.
You're welcome. Sorry, Serj.
Good.
And finally, we ask all of our guests this. It's your turn, Tosh. Player of the week. Who's your player of the week if you had to pick someone?
My old-time friend, Sigmar Milk.
Ooh, he's fun to kill.
Yeah, he is. The warrior priest.
I have known Milky, my friend Milky, since he was a White Lion player in Zaxxed, and whenever I see Sigmar Milk, I honestly, again, it's like going back, and it just brings a smile to my face because that dude's been on the server as long as I have, and we have stories to tell, and I have memories with that dude. So I'm gonna say Sigmar Milk.
That's awesome. Friendships are made. You've heard it here. All right, everybody. That's going to wrap up today's episode. Huge thanks again, Tosh. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for sharing your perspective on solo roaming, Slayer gameplay, and the current state of PvP and Return of Reckoning.
Yes, and
Appreciate
whether you agree with us or Tosh, or you completely disagree, we want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think PvE helps Roar? Do you think it hurts the PvP experience? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, share the podcast with your guildmates, or your one friend that's still stuck farming PvE gear instead of queuing for the fights.
Right. You can also watch us live on stream, where we talk more about ROR, MMOs, PvP gameplay, all types of things. Our links are going to be in the description below. Thanks again for hanging out with us. And remember, break the meta, play for fun. We'll see you guys on the next one.